There we go. Hola, boa noite. It's the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club and a very special evening under the leadership of Mr. Gary Austin tonight. And a very special guest from Casa Ermelinda. Marcio Ferreira is here, the export director, no less, of that esteemed producer of wine in Portugal. Good evening to you, Marcio. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here and just share a little bit of the history of the company and speak to you and speak a little bit about the wine. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Thanks for coming in tonight. So over to you, Gary. If you'd like to lead the way, I'll support you with the visuals as best I can.
Okay, we'll go on as quickly as we possibly can. Once again, thank you very much for turning up, sir. It's very decent of you, and your help is greatly appreciated. Your producer is probably one of my favourites, so this is a personal sort of bonus for me. I know you're short on time, so if you want to lead off and just give us a bit of background information, etc., about the company, then please do so.
Sure. So Casa Ermelinda Freitas is it's a family business, so it's still owned by the family. It was established in 1920, and it's currently on the 5th generation. For the Campos Freitas family, so really it's a company that historically led by women. So one of our known brands is Dona Ermelinda, and it's also one of the most known brands in Portugal. And the company really has been growing a lot over the last 15 years, let's say. But it exists already for 100 years. It was in 2020 was our 100th anniversary. We were not able to do anything special because of the times, with the pandemic. So it's we had a lot of plans, but we couldn't really get a lot of people together. And basically, there are really two stages of Casa Ermelinda Freitas. The first stage is until 1996, 1997, where the company basically produced and sold all of its wines in bulk. So it really didn't bottle the wines. Just to come back a little bit, so we are from the peninsula of Setúbal, which is south of Portugal, south of Lisbon, more or less 40 minutes south of Lisbon. And until 97, the company sold its wines in bulk, mainly to other wineries. And in 1997, a big customer did not purchase the wines, and the owner of the company basically had two options: or sell the company, or invest in bottling the wines and kind of embark in this new adventure of bottled wine, which is a very different business of selling your wine in bulk. And really, since 97, then the company has developed and created a lot of brands, their own brands, and it has grown a lot. It is now one of the top 5 biggest producers in Portugal. So it's really a story of growth. So in a nutshell, it's more or less the background on Casa Ermelinda Freitas. Just in numbers, just to let you know, we produce more than 20 million liters today annually, which of course is a lot. We own about 550 hectares of vineyards. And we have actually just acquired 2 estates in other regions. So we just started an operation in Vinho Verde. We bought it in 2018, and we acquired an estate in Douro. So these are really novelties that are just getting to come to the market right now. So we are known for wines from Setúbal, from the south of Portugal. We have planted more than 30 grape varieties between Portuguese varieties and international varieties. Portugal has a lot of native grape varieties, some of them very hard to pronounce, and one of them is the tasting today. It's one of the most difficult things to sell Portuguese wines because the grape varieties are difficult to pronounce. And so yeah, 30 different grape varieties. Well, today we are already a bigger company. We are present more or less in 40 export markets. So yeah, the business has completely changed over the last 10, 15 years. But really at the core, we are a family business, really 100% family owned. And the owner, which is Leonor Freitas, and her daughter, Joana Freitas, fifth generation, is now taking control of the company. It's a very accessible person, and she shows up very often. She's always in the company. So it's not like working in a big corporation,
So, Marcio, you've actually just going to cover one of my questions there, because I was just going to ask you about the great lady yourself. What is she actually like in person? Because she looks a very flamboyant, interesting character, and as you say, probably a good role model for women. So, what's your sort of insight on her?
Well, she is known to be, like a strong woman, leader, strong woman. She's often in the news, and Casa Ermelinda Freitas is one of the most awarded wineries in Portugal. So there's always the awards and receiving the awards and being in the press. But for people who are maybe outside, maybe you see her as a person who is always on the news, but she's a really down-to-earth person, and a very good friend, always ready to listen, speaks to every employee, knows everyone in the winery. Everyone can go to her if she has a problem. Her door is always open. So that's kind of her qualities that for me really struck the most, because she's always very available. I spoke to her today. Last night I was speaking to her an hour on the phone. She's, she shares a lot. So I think she's very close, and I think that's really also what makes the company and the brand kind of very liked by the consumer.
Yeah, you touched on another thing as well. You must be reading my mind tonight, because you mentioned some of your other sort of branches and plans elsewhere. Now, I read that you were maybe moving up into the Douro region up north somewhere and trying a few vineyards up there. Can you tell us anything about that? Can you?
Yes, we basically about 2 years ago. So the company has been growing a lot in Setúbal, and in this business, Portugal has about 10 regions. We are in the south, but really the most known Setúbal, it's, I think, probably region number 3 or number 4 in terms of awareness. Douro and Vinho Verde and Alentejo are the regions that are very, very have more really brand awareness, let's say. And Setúbal is very close to Alentejo. It's more or less the same terroir. It's just a little bit above. We usually say it's just as good but better price for wine. But
that nicely leads on to my next question, actually, because you obviously been the man in the hot seat of the company. I just wonder how you would sort of explain Setúbalense wines in comparison to other Douro wines of character. How would you say the difference? How would you see the difference in Setúbalense wines?
Well, I would say definitely the main characteristic of Setúbal wines is that they are wines from the south. A lot of sun, a lot of concentration. Our one very distinctive characteristic of Setúbal, it's the sandy soils. So when I mean sandy soils, is soils like white sand, like the beach, okay? So with water at very low depth. So maybe 2 meters depth, you have water. What that gives you is it gives the plant a lot of production capability, So our yield per hectare, it's one of the biggest in Portugal. much bigger than let's say the Douro, which the Douro, the soils are schist and the plant has to go very deep to get water, and also the Douro, it's terraces, so you cannot put mechanical harvesting there. So usually the Douro wines are more expensive because the labor is very costly. While in the south, that's the great advantage, and Setúbal mainly because it's more plain. It's very hot during the summer, but you are also close to the Atlantic. So at nights, there's a bit of temperature, the temperature decreases. So it's kind of best of both worlds, where you have very good production capability, good concentration on the reds, and good acidity on the whites. And that, because you have such good production, it allows you to make very good prices because the yields per hectare are good. So, and really, companies from this, in Peninsula Setúbal, the region is not very big, but the players here, you have 3 or 4 big companies, one of the biggest in Portugal, because they can grow a lot. So I think in a nutshell, it's more or less the characteristics of the Peninsula of Setúbal.
Would it be correct if sorry?
Karen,
would it be correct for me to say, correct me if I'm wrong,
yeah,
Setúbal produces a lot of white wine?
Yes, as well. So basically the 2 grape varieties that are the flagship, let's say, from Setúbal, it's on the red wine is Castelão, which is known as Periquita. There's another producer here, Fonseca, which is very known it has a brand called Periquita. It was the most planted red wine variety, red grape variety in Portugal for a long time. Now Touriga Nacional, the wine that we'll taste, it's being planted more because it's sort of the grape that has more potential to show the terroir of Portugal. And then on the whites, you have Fernão Pires, which is a white variety, which gives good acidity wines, mainly. So wines that can age a little bit, but there are not a lot of single variety Fernão Pires wines. Mainly Fernão Pires is used as blends. And, Portuguese wine makers, they like to blend overall. Overall, they really like to blend. Of course, we have, for example, in the company, we have 20 different single varietal wines, but it's just because, in today's market, you need to have single varietals. If I want to go to the US to sell, I need to have a Chardonnay. I need to have a Cabernet Sauvignon, to sell.
Yeah.
But the DNA of Portugal, let's say the Peninsula of Setúbal in varieties, you have basically 3 grape varieties very known in Setúbal. Castelão on the reds, Fernão Pires on the whites, and then Muscatel de Setúbal in the fortified wines. Okay? So basically, we make, which is Muscat of Alexandria, it's the same variety. Sorry, I'm speaking a lot. I don't know if you are comfortable with this.
No, we're learning something here. We're learning something.
Question, if it's okay. What are the challenges of making a monovarietal wine when, if, for example, you have a year that wasn't a very good year? What do you guys do then?
What is the challenge of making a single varietal wine?
Yeah.
Well, let's say Portuguese winemakers or Portuguese producers, overall, they like to blend. For a very simple reason, I would say. Portugal has more than 250 native grape varieties, okay? So people just blend it. And in a lot of properties in Portugal, going back, 100 years ago, Portugal was mainly a cooperative system of wineries, where really wine was seen, 10% of the Portuguese population works in agriculture. Unfortunately, we don't make expensive cell phones and Mercedes-Benz to export. We have to export wine. Not that is a bad thing; it's a good thing. But so really, there is this, let's say, agricultural side of it, and wine is really was always part of, food, So was never a fancy thing, let's say. At least it's how it started. Now it's getting different. So really, and with so many grape varieties, first of all, the Portuguese never really saw the need to plant Cabernet Sauvignon or Chardonnay. Never, ever. But, this happens with a lot of countries. If you go to Spain or to Italy, it's the same, because they want to preserve their own grape varieties. But the market really dictates what you need to do. So, for example, I'll give you 2 or 3 examples. Every region in Portugal have their specific blend of the type of wine from the region.
Yeah.
For example, if you go in the Douro Valley, the red blend that they do there, it's Touriga Nacional, Trincadeira, Tinto.
Yeah.
It's like if you go to a Bordeaux, it's Cabernet Sauvignon, it's Merlot, and it's a little bit of Petit Verdot. So it's really the same. So single varietal wines were never the big thing. That changed, I think that changed in the last 10 years, 20 years, because, what are the most sold wines in the world? It's Chardonnay, it's Cabernet,
Yeah.
So the consumer buys because of the grape. When you go to the supermarket or whatever, and you don't know wine, you're a consumer. You look at the shelf and you see Cabernet Sauvignon. I know that.
The familiar brands, the familiar names, and that's difficult from somebody coming from outside of Portugal to suddenly see a whole load of names that they don't recognise, because it's new grapes and stuff. It's often quite daunting, but I have to say, and I think these guys will support me on this, that Portuguese wine can stand up against anything else in the world and make a very, very good show of itself. The thumb's gone up in the corner down there. I think it's wonderful stuff and vastly undersold, to be honest.
I think it's the challenge. It's the challenge. I tell you this because I've worked in the promotion of Portuguese wines in, let's say, institutional body. Let's say Wines of Portugal. I've worked there. I've worked in the spirits industry. Now I am back to the wine business. And it's very hard to promote Portuguese wines because of that reason, because of the grapes, And people always say, but Portugal is, you have fantastic wines. How come your wines are so cheap? I can't believe it. You can produce wines like the French or... And the reason I think it's a little bit that, the grape varieties is one. So for you to enter the market, you need to lower your price so that you can enter the market. So, to build the brand around a wine like Touriga Nacional, a wine that you're having there, it's a lot of years of investment that when you are a small country like Portugal, don't forget, Portugal is 10 million people. It's a tiny country, Still, in the picture of wine, Portugal is usually, I don't know, number 9, number 10 in terms of the biggest producers. It's true. It's still quite remarkable for the size of the country. It's still quite remarkable. But I think it's a lot of time that really takes to build, and Portugal, I think, is getting there. So the exports are getting more recognition, wines are more widely available, prices are getting better. And then the other thing is that Portugal, being such a small country with so many grape varieties, with so many different regions, it's like, for someone to understand that, you need at least a good 10 years or at least 5 years here to start really to understand. We have port wines, which is a totally different, Madeira wines, which is a totally different thing, Vinho Verde, which is completely different from anything else. So, it takes time, but that's the beauty of it as well,
Well,
I think, sorry.
Once you've learnt about these different things, and once you've got your head around it a little bit, people realize very quickly that it's the best quality wines you can probably lay your hands on. If you can get yourself out of that single mindset of Cabernet, Merlot, and all the things like you say, and just learn a little bit. and then you just learn as you go along, don't you? And with anything, wine for me is what the individual person likes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's really you touched on a key point,
Frank, one last
ask
question.
me, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to give North Americans perspective. We usually buy wine in North America, fortunately or unfortunately, by looking at the label. And if the label is nice, beautiful, flashy, we'll buy the wine. And then if we like the wine based on the label, then we'll go and look at the grape varietal or where exactly the wine is from. So if the label of your wine is sexy and it looks, you look at it and you go, I gotta get this wine. And even if it's horrible, the people will still put up with it once or twice more. The thing is that it's the label that we, in North America, what we usually buy. Not everyone, people who know their grapes, people who understand their wine, they'll go for that particular grape varietal, but a lot of the times it's also the label.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. I mean, more and more you have to be very careful with the label. It needs to be appealing, and I tell you, because now today we are already a big company. I tell you, I sell a lot of wines in the US. I sell wines in the US with English names. Doesn't even say Portugal.
Oh,
Wow.
Really?
But it's just the way that it says Portugal on the back label, don't get me wrong. But let's say in the front, it could be from California, it could be from Australia. And I sell these wines as well that say Portugal. So I think you're absolutely right. Label, people buy by the label, people then buy by the grape, people buy by the region. So if someone knows Portugal and if they see Portugal, they go there, they grab the bottle. But there's so many unique selling points in this business that you kind of have to cater to all of them.
Like Periquita is sold a lot in Canada, and Periquita has a very distinguished kind of label. So now, based on their label and based on those dots of wine, wherever you see them, it's Periquita, and that is how the wine gets sold over there. Not just the price, but it's the label.
Yeah, it's the label, and it's Periquita is the oldest wine brand in Portugal. So,
okay.
Time
Marcio,
also.
we only said we were going to keep you for 10 minutes because I know you're a busy man. So if you do need to go, feel free to leave us. That's fine. I'm sure we keep you all night knowing us. We'll ask questions till the end of time. But just to finish up on from your point of view, I know you've got a great visitor centre down there at the vineyard, and when it's open, you can guarantee that you'll have a visit from at least some of us.
Absolutely. So just for me to understand, you are all expats living in Portugal?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're a mixture, actually. Penny is over in Britain at the moment. He can't, because of the restrictions.
I'm afraid so. We're not allowed to travel, so
Yeah.
never mind, one of those things.
But most of the listeners from all over the globe, you're getting people from America, Australia, the Far East. So it's a global interest we've got going here now. So
Very
I'm quite
well.
proud of that, really.
Well, we would love to receive you whenever this we open and Portugal opens a little bit more the economy. I think the president today is just saying that this emergency state will continue. I think in April after Easter things will open a little bit more. Yeah, because now we cannot receive visits in the winery.
Yeah.
So, but if anyone has interest, you have my contacts. We can set it up for a visit in a winery. You can have a tour in the vineyards, explain you a little bit the different kind of wines that we have, a little bit of the experience. And thanks for the invitation. I don't know, you have the Touriga Nacional there, Gary?
Yes, we do. We do.
Do you want me to explain a little bit of that wine?
Yes,
It
please.
depends. If you have time, please do. I'm just aware of your time limits.
2 minutes.
Okay.
So basically, Vinha do Rosario. I don't know where you got that wine. You get that wine from Lidl?
Yes.
So So basically, Vinha do Rosario, it's a big range that we have. We have the basic, let's say, red, white, and rosé. Then we have a few single varietals, which is a bit more upper on the range, and Touriga Nacional, it's one of them. So, Touriga Nacional, we say it's the flagship grape from Portugal today. It's really characterized by a lot of tannin, usually. Okay, a lot of ripe, dark fruit. When it ripes well under good temperatures, and it's a wine that ages about 4 months in barrel. So it has a little of structure from the oak barrel. And it's also a wine that you can keep probably for about 7 years.
7 years.
And another distinctive character, we say 7 years, of course, I think it can last more, but probably 5 to 7 years, it's where is the optimum, time to drink it. Mm-hmm. And another characteristic of the Touriga Nacional, if you ever find the grape, you will notice it's very floral. It has a lot of violets on the nose. Mm-hmm. So that's really a main characteristic of the grape. All right. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll keep in contact with you.
See you when we're a bit more free and easy to. It'll be an amazing thing. I think we'll all be keen to come and pay you a visit.
Absolutely. We'll be honored to have you. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye now. Bye.
Bye.
I think Carl's got some technical problems going on there by the looks of it.
I can hear you, and I heard all of that. It was fantastic.
Oh, great.
Absolutely brilliant. But I lost my camera, so I didn't want to refresh my page while Marcio was talking. I'm going to try it now, but carry on anyway, Gary. All right, carry on anyway.
Okay.
Shall we pour?
Yeah, poison's the glass, guys. I think we waited long enough. So we're going to...
we opened ours like two hours ago.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Which has got to be good.
I've started tasting because I didn't realise. I thought I got one virtually the same as yours, only to find out it's hardly got any of the Touriga Nacional in it.
Oh. You will find, Pen, that most Portuguese wines are based on Touriga Nacional, so we'll have some in it somewhere.
It's literally a splash in here. It's the same.
Basically, I looked for this wine today, and that particular Rosario. They only had whites in varietals in the shop I was in, so I had to go for something a little different as usual. So I've got this one, which is there you go.
And is that 100% Touriga Nacional?
No, it's a blend. It's a blend. It's a It's the Castello, Touriga Nacional, and the something else of the Teresa. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called now. There are 3 varieties in there anyway.
I've got 4 in mine.
Have you really?
I have indeed.
Well, you see, now here's an interesting point. As Marcio said, a lot of Portuguese wines are blended. Now, the reason I chose this wine is a single grape, which kind of puts it, if you think about it, as a disadvantage because it hasn't got that latitude to develop the taste, or so you would think. Or so you would think.
So that's why I think it's very challenging to make a wine like this because you can't play the grapes against each other so that you reach whatever you need to reach.
Yeah. But I think it's important to taste the single grape to know what the rest of probably the Portuguese wines that we are tasting are based on. So have a little taste and tell me what you think. While we have a little because it's.
I'm a bit disappointed. I haven't got the single grape.
Don't worry. It was going to be difficult to get in Britain. It was.
Well, this is brilliant. I love this one. This wasn't as expensive as the one I had last week, but it's every bit as good. Really nice.
So this really mellowed down since we opened it. On the nose, it's much more floral, and also on the palate, we can pick up more a little bit of the wood basket now. Before I couldn't, and there's lots of berries.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I like it.
Now, it's not an expensive wine. It's not. This one's not even the reserve. So this is kind of like Marcio said, the entry wine. So the reserve should be theoretically even better.
Oh.
It's gone again. It's gone again.
Oh, you're back.
It's back again.
There you go.
Hey, Carl.
All right. Sorry about that.
Is that Carl or is that James Bond? What's going on?
It's me with a wine club here tonight. Rachel,
Shaken, not stirred, eh?
Indeed. Yes. Okay. Can I add my comment? Because when I opened it, as you suggested, Gary, I was getting. I thought Touriga Nacional single grape. It's going to be really strong. It's going to be very alcoholic. It's 14.5, isn't it? And when
it's alcoholic. It's quite alcoholic.
But I was surprised by how inoffensive it was on a first pour. You know, some of the really seriously alcoholic wines just give you a bit of a bash on the hooter, don't they, when they're in the glass. This didn't. This has really calmed down, and I actually preferred it when it was first opened. And I got this. I was thinking, what is that flavour? And it was licorice. I got this real blast of childhood licorice flavour and aroma. And it's really calmed down since then. Not a problem, but it was really nice and really surprisingly pleasant straight away.
That's quite typical Nacional to have that licorice in it.
Sorry, we got some cross lines there, Doug.
Oh, sorry, that's quite typical of your Touriga Nacional to have that licoricey, background. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we all thought that it was going to be, what's the word without being offensive? A bit rough. It was going to be a bit sort of, but it's not. It's a very smooth, likable, and you could drink this just, around the table, a few friends together, and it would sit quite nicely. But you probably wouldn't realise how alcoholic it is because it's quite smooth and it's quite acceptable.
Can I ask, how much was that in your local Lidl?
It was cheap. It was probably no more than €3 a bottle.
Wow,
that's amazing, isn't it?
Which is silly, really. Now, guys, here's my bit. If you want to stick with me.
Like I say, I've got sorry, Gary, I've just pinched your limelight for a minute. I've got a reserver from the same vineyard, which was $5.99 in Lidl.
Yeah,
but it does have 4 grapes in, so it's not quite the same, but it's very nice.
Well, I didn't want to sort of overrun Marcio about what he was saying, but I find with Setúbal wines, they've got a very, very distinctive character to them, and like when you drink them, you instantly you get that big fruit rush, you get that big hit of fruit, right, and then it mellows out, and then you get the little bits and pieces that come through, but they're not like the northern wines in the fact of maybe they haven't got a huge length of taste. But what they do hit you with in the first sort of few seconds is a really good quality of taste, a definite taste, if you know what I mean. And I think that's why I like them.
No, we know you're a big fan. We know you're a big fan, and the backstory you love as well, don't you, Gary?
Right. We've done the backstory before with Donna Ermelinda doing her thing, and Marcio covered that. So I'll just give you a little bit of information on the side. I'm not going to go on for too long, but let's just do this. Touriga Nacional, the grape, the basis of most wines in Portugal. So we've learned along our way. It's got a couple of other names it might be known by, and I'm going to try it. It's Mortágua or Preto Mortágua, which I think translates Mortágua, which does not. Is that dead water? Water?
But it's also a place. It's also a place in just up near Luso and Busaco, Mortágua.
Yeah. So it's very possible that the original grape came from up around there somewhere. So the name is linked to that. The grape is considered by many to be the Portuguese version of the Cabernet Sauvignon grape. That's slide one. Actually, it's the grapes. If you want to put the grapes up, that's the one.
Look at those bad boys. Beautiful.
Right. They're only actually very small grapes, very, very small grapes with a thick skin. and they don't yield very much in the way of juice. In fact, they are probably amongst the lowest yielding grapes in commercial production. But strangely enough, there's a little vineyard down the road, and they grow them. And I tasted one off the vine, expecting it to be bitter, but it was gorgeous. It was very much like this wine taste. That's how it is. If you go to slide 2, Carl, which I think was the little vine one you had. Next one, the other one.
That one, yeah.
Right, it's a very vigorous vine, yeah, and it requires a lot of pruning. It's usually grown, and forgive me if I get this pronunciation wrong, the diet system, which basically means the way that you are seeing there, right? You can see a main trunk on the vine and like 2 arms coming out, which are called canes. Now they're kept pruned quite close, and the fruiting bodies will come off those 2 arms. They don't have to have 2 arms. You can have a single arm. You can have multiple arms, but that's generally what they're done and grown along the wire. And harvested from that sort of position. They are grown in most parts of Portugal, as we know, and as we said, it was thought to have originated up in the north. But I didn't know this. Small numbers are actually grown in the United States, South Africa, and Australia, but very little else. Very little else. Some of the pairing suggestions that I came across was obviously in meat, steak. Always comes in there, doesn't it? But this sounds nice, doesn't it? A North African goat tagine. How does that sound with this? I think that sounds really quite nice. And also, if you're a bit more sweet tooth, chocolate or custard tart.
Yeah.
Which I never really thought of.
Pastel de nata.
We've got a pastel de nata in front of us. I'm going to try that later. If you go to that last slide, right, we're just going to have a little bit, because it will crop up, this one in our wine researches a lot, right? Like most other wines, this vine suffered terribly from a disease called, and I'm going to try and say it properly, Phylloxera. How do you say it? How did you say it? Phylloxera, right? Which, if we wind back to, remember the port, the Donna Antonia port, when the disease struck and a lot of people were out of work, and she provided them with other jobs. This is what we're talking about, yeah? Now, this is the scale we're talking about. A pest, which by the start of the 1900s have wiped out 70% of French vineyards. 70% of French vineyards. Doesn't mention the Portuguese ones, they were probably even worse off. So that's catastrophic, really, if you're in the winemaking business, isn't it?
You've been right.
There's still actually no cure for the disease, because if you look at that little picture there, those little bugs at the bottom, yeah, they attack the root system of the vine. I don't know whether you can see on there, those little dots there. That's where they tend to go for, and that's where it kills the vine.
It's a problem when you're growing masses of white vineyard of grapevines. What you're actually creating is a monoculture. A bit like the olive groves all around Europe are being attacked by a disease as well. It only takes one problem like these bugs, and of course they'll attack the whole lot. So it's a great problem.
Well, the strange thing is, right, certain varieties of that vine are not affected. But other ones are. So what they tend to be doing now is researching and going with the vines that are more resistant to this, because it will decimate a whole vineyard, no problem whatsoever. Yeah. So I thought it was important for us to know about that, because it does figure a lot in wine history. It's probably boring to some people, but I've often wondered what it was, and that's what our deadliest enemy is, really. So that's a little bit of history for you, and a little bit of a side piece to the main event. So.
Amazing. And you're right. I mean, how that would change the evolution of wines in a country, right? A devastation of that kind.
Yeah. There was rumour from where it came from, was possibly America. There's no actual evidential proof of that, but I can't remember the guy's name, but he used to come over and visit vineyards and stuff, and obviously try and select vines and stuff. But this guy may have brought it with him, and he was all over the place. He was in France, he was in Portugal. And obviously they would trade specimens and stuff. That's a nice video. You play please call. That'd be nice to see.
Do you want to sound up, or do you want to talk over it?
It's just a nice bit of music. Put the sound up if you like. But it's only a few seconds.
Huge. Beautiful. That's us. That's us next year.
That's you doing the waiting, Carl, with your dicky bow.
Absolutely. Well, can I get you? How's the meal? You're disturbing the other customers. Oh yes, let's have some of that. Beautiful, fantastic, Gary. Amazing.
The lady at the end of the table was Donna Leonora.
Really?
That was a lady herself, the head of the table. She seemed like an absolute character to me.
Well, he chose his words wisely, didn't he?
Yeah.
You don't expect a region so close to Lisbon, Setúbal, to be so rural as it appeared on that particular video, would you? I mean, there's so much countryside there.
Yeah.
It's obviously quite flat down there, and the soil is sandy, so it's a Mediterranean sort of base wine, really, that they make. But they're not frightened to take on people at their own game, like the guy said. The Cabernet Sauvignon, the Merlot, the Chardonnay, they make them all. They have a go, but you don't really see that a lot from a lot of other Portuguese wine producers. So fair play to them for having a go, and now they're having a go up in the Douro as well, which should be quite interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Can I share everybody's comments that we've had so far before we go into the
let's
score?
do it.
Andy the doc's here. He's booked. He's going to be on every 2 weeks. He's going to be on with me on a Wednesday. The doc has got his own slot on the Good Morning Portugal show. Great news. Our teams met today and decided that. Olá, boa noite, Andy and Leiria and Leona, of course. Paul down in the south. Hello again. A pairing there, banana and red wine. Interesting. Olá, boa noite a todos from Eric J. Good evening to you, Eric. Carmen Souza from the Azores with us tonight with a lovely heart. Good evening, everyone. From Joseph, the farmer for fun. From Rita Lucin, hello. From Anna, joining us again. Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. Boa noite. Sorry I could not find this wine here in Switzerland, but happy to know there are good dry wines in Setúbal as well, as it's the area I'm looking to most closely for relocation. That's interesting to know. Good to know, Rita, because Rita says it is the best part of Portugal somewhere or other in our comments tonight. I love how passionate Marcio is about wine. Isn't that great? You've got an export director who's as cool as that. Very informative and interesting. Well done, sir. Pete's here tonight. Good evening to you, Pete. Can't wait to try your wine, Farmer for Fun. Always learning. Pete, right back at you from Farmer for Fun there. Can't wait either. Got a bottle here with all our names on it. That's part of our tour as well. We're going to Fundão to meet those guys. Peter Bleach, only next month now. We cannot thank you enough. Such an amazing farm, celebrating with some champagne, and our friends gave us a keg of, what is that? Pan Galactic Pale Ale. That sounds interesting, Pete. That's maybe what you're drinking tonight. Had to Google that one. Looks jolly nice. New journeys and new beginnings. How exciting for you. Cheers, Pete. Get a room. Get a vineyard, you two. What a fantastic presentation. What does that mean? Obrigado. Brigade, Obrigado has the same root, doesn't it? Marcio, and likewise, thanks to Marcio. That was great. Dale's here. Good evening. Congratulations on the new job, Dale.
God bless him.
We'll raise a glass to that. I'm a week too late, says this Facebook user with the Anmush Douro. That's what you were drinking last week, right, Doug? Found her in Belgium.
2 weeks, I think I had that.
2 weeks. Okay, Lidl in Belgium, cheaper than in Portugal. Good wine, very good. Lisa's here, the old Jersey Bean over there. Good evening to you, Lisa. What? I can't read that out. What is the name of the wine label, and what kind of is that? A cepage? Does anyone know this wine phrase? A cepage?
I'd like to say I do, but I don't.
No, me neither. Or steepage, which is not such a nice word as cepage. Rough is good. Rough is good, says Joel. And Anna, we've upset Anna. I'm now upset with Switzerland, Lidl, for not having any of these. Because they are quite sweet, aren't they, of these Rosarios? There's all sorts in there. I think I've drunk most of them this week.
Yeah.
They had loads of Rosario, Vino Branco Rosario in our Lidl. They had 3 or 4 different varieties, but none of the Vino Tinto. So I've had to go for that one, unfortunately.
There we go.
Which is, as you can see at the back, it's an Alentejo.
Okay, and you've got the unicorn on the front, which is always good. YouTube demonetizing this video because some oh, Joel, it's all right. It's not the end of the world. We can deal with that. Loved Marcio's presentation. Well done, Gary. It was a moon, not a banana. Of course it was. A cepage. A cepage is a grape variety. So that's an easy question to answer, isn't it? We are on this is a rare thing for us. We are on a single variety, the Touriga Nacional there. I thought it was amazing what he was saying about they don't even put Portugal on the front of some of the bottles. That's sad, but very revealing and interesting, isn't it? And
it's actually really quite upsetting because when I go around looking for wines now, I look for Portuguese. So if it's not on there, I don't have it.
Yep, interesting. So that should change, Doug. Cepage means grape variety, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, from the vendor who asked the question. Great to have your company tonight. Someone who knows a thing or two about wine. In Portugal, they hardly mention grape variety. You're right, Navenda. This is something we've discovered on this club. It's in the small print on the back, isn't it? And Paul, they're helping us all out here. Cepage means a single grape variety. So now we know. We have learned so much tonight. Gary, do you want to host the scoring now?
Okay. Well, I've just had pastoral donato with it, right, and it's just insanely good. It really is. It really is good.
I want.
It's really nice. 2 things I wouldn't put together: red wine and pastoral donato. But hey, it works. It works. Right. I'm going to go last. Who's got? Frank's got the wine. I'll start with Frank. I know that Frank's got the wine. Bearing in mind, Frank, right, what we said about its limitations, single grape, price, etc. Now, this is the way I see it. Just give me your thoughts.
I really liked it. I think, Rachel, when we first opened this wine, when we first tried it, it was a little bit, it had a little bit of roughness to it. And now that we've had it open for a bit, it's really, and it doesn't even, the tannins don't seem to be that heavy, because I know that whenever you have Touriga Nacional, it's got like a heavy amount of Touriga Nacional blend. It kind of has, like, you know, that very strong, robust kind of tannin. This one, after being open for an hour or 2, it's not that bad at all. It's actually a very good wine. Decent.
Good. Rachel, any comments?
Yeah. Same here. When we opened it, it was quite rough. It was very alcoholic, but it really mellowed down after 2 hours. And it's a completely different wine now.
But it's funny, for Carl, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
So I find that interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think, Carl?
I don't understand it. I really don't. You know, my assessment is, and you won't be surprised to hear this, but I'm thinking, I'm in Lidl, I'm in a big producer, you know, and I'm always fearing that kind of marketing over quality thing going on. An understandable predicament for the big producers. What did he say? 20 million litres, was it?
Yeah.
A lot.
That's an extraordinary feat, isn't it? That's an extraordinary technological feat. Hats off to them for that. And again, just pleasantly surprised. I went actually this week. I went back to one of the first wines I really liked that I bought from Lidl when I was first in Portugal. It was the Villarreal Red,
Yeah.
and it's got all it is a marketing victory, because it's got all the little stickers on it, and it's got a decanter award, and it's got a German wine conference, award, expo, blah, blah, blah. So you're thinking this is going to be all right. And I was disappointed. My tastes have changed because of the journey we've been on here. It didn't taste sophisticated in any kind of way. It was all right. Don't get me wrong, but there you go. Are you a fan as well, Gary, of that?
Yeah, that's a fairly acceptable wine. It's got its place on the table. But like you say, it's got all the. Hang on, I can't get him through. All the medals and stuff on it.
Let me just zoom in on that. Yeah, because it's a very good-looking marketed bottle of wine, isn't it? Gold.
Yeah.
This is what Frank is saying. When you see that on there, I mean, wine producers must be delighted to get that because they're thinking, okay, next year we're going to have stickers all over the place like that. And I've learned so much about wine that I was reviewing that in a different way. And I thought the same thing might happen here, in all honesty. But no, I love that first blast of licorice. If anything, it's not as exciting now as it was then. So I've had a very different experience to you guys. I wasn't overwhelmed at all. It's still lovely and very drinkable. But I was really impressed by the early blast and I was so delighted that I could put my finger on what it was. When you're thinking, what is that? What is that? Is it rosemary? Is it tobacco? Is it leather trousers? Whatever. It was candied licorice. Was not root licorice, but the licorice that you remember from being a kid. Like from a bag of licorice, all sorts. That sugary licoricey flavour, and that's what I was hit by first of all. So
Well, it's kind of good that now that we can realise. What we like about drinking wine. So obviously you want a much more stronger flavour from your wine. You want to hit the defined character of the wine early. So when it comes out, it's full alcohol, it's full flavour, full everything. Probably not so smooth, and you like that. That's your own personal taste. But you go to Frank and Rachel, they're like a smoother, more mellow wine. So we're getting more refined now because we can tell when we want to drink the wine and what we want to get from it. So we must be getting somewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Joel, thanks for joining us, mate. I mean, bless him. He doesn't even drink, and he joins us for the wine club. So cheers, mate. We'll see you tomorrow night for the big debate, showing the people of the world that we can do serious as well tomorrow evening.
Can we find out about the other wines, please, Penny? About yours?
If I'm honest, I'm a bit disappointed with mine. Mainly, I mean, as you know, I'm not very good with heavy red wines, and this one actually leaves quite a bitter taste, which is interesting because it's got Cabernet Sauvignon, it's got Syrah, it's got a little dollop of Touriga. The other grape, I mean, you do need big bins to read this, is it Castelao?
Yep.
Yeah.
Castelao, yeah.
But it doesn't tell you what the percentages are on them, other than it's just a smidging of the Touriga. So it's actually got a bitter aftertaste. I did open it early as well. I didn't taste it because I was doing yoga, so I didn't want to tempt myself too much beforehand. But yeah, I actually enjoyed it more at the beginning than I'm enjoying it now.
Oh, that's strange, isn't it? That's strange.
And
Doug, how about you? Mate? What about yours? Tell us about yours.
Was mine?
Yeah.
Well, it's a three-pronger. It's Trincadero, and it's also the old faithful Touriga Nacional and the Castello. So this is a three-prong one, and basically it's very full-bodied, very rounded, got a long finish on it. It's this here in the UK. This came in at about £8, but it's a little job. Very nice. I would have it again without any question. I would put that for the price I paid, certainly 4.5.
Good. Frank, Rachel, what are you going to post yours at?
For me, this would be a 3.75.
Rachel, the same? Okay. Carl?
I'm going to give it 4.4.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That's higher than I thought you would.
You know what? I mean, we might as well just say we'll give Portuguese wines between 4 and 5, right? That's an important thing to say contextually here. Is that it's not all over the place, is it? For us, when we're talking about Portuguese wine, you might, if you were doing English wine, it would be miserable probably some weeks, wouldn't it? And it'll be like 1, and then it'll be a 5 because it'll be outstanding suddenly compared to last week. French, possibly the same, up and down between 2 and 5 or whatever. But what we've discovered, I think, here is that the basic background standard is so high. And this is the great. I think Marcia was kind of referring to that as well. There's a job to do around the world to raise the, I don't know, the entry point or the accessibility to Portuguese wine for people to understand how the basic standard is so very good. That to me is the overwhelming thing of tonight. Is like it's kind of hard to go wrong.
I'm happy for it to remain a well-kept secret, Carl.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough, Doug. Fair enough. He's like, if I'm James Bond, you're the evil baddie who's trying to keep Portuguese wine away from the rest of the world. They'll never have it. And Doug,
Penny, what was Penny's score on her wine? Sorry, what was Penny's score on her wine? I didn't get one from you.
I think I'd probably go with 3.75. I think somebody popped up in the comments that it's probably the tannin in it that makes it a little bit bitter. And I must admit, I'm not very good with a lot of tannin in the wine, in wine generally. So 3.75 from me. Still very nice, very drinkable. Particularly, I would have thought with a good hearty pasta dish. Or I like the sound of the
red wine needs food, doesn't it? That's the
What about one of these?
Oh, that's nice.
That looks delicious.
Well, Perkins.
I'm not going to say anything about that, Carl, because Neil Perkins is going to jump in and punch my face.
Perkins wasn't
caramel, is it?
This was a picture sent to me from a listener to the morning show. And in Germany, they mix up the old Black Forest business into the Pastel de Nata. This is Portuguese people, not Germans. And this is wonderful in it about the Portuguese diaspora. I've eaten pastel de nata in Jersey. And I'm thinking, if you're going to have a pastel de nata with red wine, this is the one, isn't it?
That's basically a creme caramel in pastry, isn't it?
Yes, with the old forest fruits in there. Yep.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. Victoria,
fight me. Victoria Benson's going to have to fight me for that.
Okay, that was from somebody called Popo on YouTube. So we'll get them to bring some with them when they fly in, and we can fight over them when they arrive. Look who's here! Gary is a ringer. He's a stinger ringer tonight.
Ring sting.
Well, more of a sting ring, I think, on this occasion, Gary. Isn't it amazing how you get mistaken for David Beckham for that? Is it Louis Spence? Was it the other?
That was the downfall last week, yeah.
And now Sting tonight. I love
Linda keeps telling me not to put my glasses on.
To hide like double chin, I was hoping.
Because she reckons to look like that guy from Breaking Bad.
Yes, the man of a million faces. Oh, if you could start doing the voices, that'd be great. Or you could do an act called Brummy Bloke Does Impersonations, and they could all be Brummy. Like it'd be Brummy Breaking Bad, Brummy Sting, in the fields of ball, all of that kind of stuff.
How about Peaky Blinders?
Well, that would be easy, wouldn't it, for me?
He's got that sorted. Yeah. Your name's not on the list, Eugene. You can't come in. Goodbye. Anna Mill. Well, will this be Food and Wine Club as of now? Will it still be on? There's no food tonight. This is the wine.
There is. There's something else.
But only pairing. We will be tasting wine on a Thursday. That is sacred. This is not going to become a food club on a Thursday night. We'll talk about pairings, fair enough. But because of the rip-roaring success of Mr. Frank Devane on a Monday morning, the Facebook group community is food and wine, okay? So we'll be talking a little bit about food. We'll try it for a month, see how it goes, and see what happens there. But no, this is wine. This is predominantly wine. This is Wine 33, and we're having an amazing journey here. That's not going to change. Another great show. You guys continue to raise the bar every week. Congrats. Yeah, hats off to you, Breaking Bad, Sting, Louis Spence, David Beckham. You did a great job tonight, sir.
Thank you. Thank you once again. I'll try my best.
Yeah. Bringing in the marketing, the export director, no less, of a multi-million litre bottle of wine company in Portugal. Great job.
It was nice to hear from him, though, that they still are basically a family-run business, and the boss still goes on a walkabout, talks to people. She knows everybody on the production floor, and that's always a lovely thing. You know, when people enter the ivory tower and become so far detached from what they made, I think that's the end of the story then.
Yeah.
I also think it's very interesting that a guy like Marcio is running the marketing gig with a company like that, because if they understand certain markets, the better they understand the market, the more they will sell up the product. Regardless, it will always be in North America, unfortunately, unless you buy a lot of your wine or you're in a market like California, where a lot of wine is done, or you are in the restaurant business. People don't know much about wines in North America, and they buy it off the label. And then once they love the label, they will buy a lot of it just based on the label, and they'll look at the grape later. So
well, I think that's where they could really score, because I think this type of
aggressive guys doing that. It's very
where they could really score is because I think this type of set of blends wine is a little bit like Californian wine in the way it tastes, because it's very easy drinking. You know, it's big on taste, it's big on appeal, and I think if they market it a lot more in the US, I think they'd find a market definitely for it. So I think, you know, if they could get past all that import export stuff, then they've got a big future there.
I have to confess,
a friend of mine is a sommelier, a head sommelier in Florida. I know I've talked about him before, and he gets almost all his wine from California, and he swears by it. And each bottle, regardless of what the wine is, each bottle is minimum, even in the way they buy it, like boxes or whatever. Each wine is minimum $125. And they swear by these wines. And if you look at the labels are beautiful of all these vineyards. So I can see what's going on.
Also, the idea of protectionism.
There is some protectionism. Yeah. There is some of the flag waving thing happening there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When it comes to Vino Seto Blanche, I tend to prefer the Vino Branco. To me is I prefer their white wines to their reds, Seto Blanche.
Well, Ermelinda do a lovely white wine, and it's one actually that Rachel turned me on to. It was the Varietal. They do a really nice single variety Varietal, and it's not expensive. It's same sort of price as this.
Seto Blanche is actually cheaper, don't they?
Sorry, I said that grape was very interesting. Now I want to try one from the Açores, Verdelho from the Açores, because it's probably going to be a little bit more salty. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Salty.
Yeah.
I've got no chance of getting any vino from the Azores in the UK, I'm sure. So I'm going to have to rely on some of you guys to post me some out.
Interesting point. We've had a lot of reds recently, haven't we? So maybe, and is it because it's been winter? I mean, the first white needs to show its face, doesn't it, for the springtime vibe that's in the air, I think.
I've got some whites in my cupboard.
Excellent. Okay. Who's up next week?
Us.
And do we know what?
I have been wanting to do a vinho verde, but I'm not sure. Is it spring enough already?
Doesn't matter, mate. Let's have a bit of variety.
When word gets round that we're drinking the old Vinho Verde, people will tune in just to see what happens.
You'll have to wait until Vinho Verde in the UK.
It's never too cold for white wine.
That's a good quote. That is a very good quote.
Or Espumante.
This is what I don't understand about this theory about rosé wines. It's got to be summer, right? A rosé will go with the curry. We'll go with the curry. Absolutely lovely. It's because it freshens and it breaks down the fat in a curry, especially a seafood curry. I mean, you are singing the proper song there, as far as I'm concerned. So don't be biased about your rosés. They're not just a summer wine. They have a place as well.
They're not just for summer. Should be a new tagline.
What
Yeah,
happened?
not just the summer.
What happened to this group of people? Tasting number 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I like it. Nice. I like red wine. Don't really like white wine. And now there's 33 wines in. Yes, I prefer the Sette Blanche white to the red. And I do like the rosé, how it breaks down the fats in the curry, especially seafood curry. What happened to that?
Overly sophisticated.
But almost got away with it then as well.
No, it's fantastic. I'm making light of it and taking the mickey of it, but I think it's fantastic. What's happening? Yeah, Branco Fudge Favor from Paul. So, white. There's a little bit of a push there for a white. Rachel and Frank, if you're up for it. Ascot, is that the type of cravat?
I think it's the way they put it on. It's the knot, I think, that they call the ascot.
You are such a classy bloke, though. Did you go to public school? What's the deal?
No, I certainly did not. This is to hide my double chin and my Cliff Richard neck.
It's a good look.
Doug, I was going to say in your honor, I'm going to wear an ascot next week.
Excellent. Well done. Tell me, that's another guy we're going to have to sort of corner, isn't it? We'll have to get Sir Cliff here with his wines from the Algarve.
That'll be quite a coup. That'll be quite a coup. This is all we need. It's spring here, 18 in the shade and 6.8 in the lake. So, white, if you please, next week. It's up to you, though. Your shout, obviously, Rachel and Frank. Don't be too swayed by the pressure, the peer group pressure. Do you have a list with the wines you tasted so far? I was hoping somebody wouldn't ask this.
Uh-oh.
I mean, we've got
secretary now. So
now we've got a hostess with the mostest.
Yeah.
So we got
the doc's going to take care of this, right, from now on.
Hey, Doc, you are our secretary now.
Get sorted, Doc.
Look at this, Navendu. We need to speak to Navendu or have Navendu here with us. What's the story here? A good Chenin Blanc or a Sauvignon Blanc will go with a mild curry, not too heavy on spice. Navendu, we like the cut of your jib. You're welcome to join the club and show up and give us a bit of a talk one evening, I think, with your expertise. Not everyone is a hot person, Frank.
I've just realised something, Carl.
I should say it's not a hat person. No. Okay, sorry, Gary, go on.
So, yeah, I've just realised I've left Mrs. A out of the marking.
Oh my God, we can't have that. How many glasses?
Only because she's on almost the end of a third glass now. So.
Next is number 4.
What?
Number 4, I'm nearly finished.
I'm talking too much.
Yeah.
You're taking on the role of the anchor rather well there, Gary. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I think Linda likes the evenings when Gary's presenting because she's pouring another glass and another glass while Gary.
He gets a fair share, I think you're trying to say. Isn't that right, Carl?
Absolutely. That is exactly what I'm trying to say.
I only have fair share if I like it. If I don't like it, I won't drink it.
We know
well
that.
Well done to you, Linda.
Yes,
I like that.
Yeah, I don't, there have been times when I've only had one glass because I don't like the taste.
You'll know, instant.
But this one, I'm on the 4th glass. I find it easy to drink.
And shouted as well. She's always a good sign, isn't she?
I think we found out.
Taking into account the price, I think I'm going to give it 4.3.
Get in.
Because I think it's a good buy.
That's well. I'll throw mine in there as well, shall I? And you know me, I have this formula worked out now. It's about the price of the wine. It's about the company itself. The quality of the wine. Blah blah blah. All things considered, it's got to be worth a 4, at least a 4. Surely just on price and single grape, at least. Only because it's probably. Remember, this is the bargain basement version. From here, it goes up. It goes up big strides. because there's the reserve, and they do another one I can't remember the name of. But I chose this one because I thought, well, this is worst case scenario, really, isn't it? And for a worst case scenario to achieve at least a 4, I think that's say no more.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well
Very
said.
good.
And that was interesting when he said the pivot point for the company was when a big buyer let them down, like another vineyard let them down, another blender let them down, and they thought, okay, so what do we do now? And that just set them on this new path, which is fantastic.
Amazing, wasn't that a great story?
And thank you so very much, Garbo, for bringing this wine over to us. I really appreciate it. We nearly hugged. We nearly hugged. But it was very nice.
We were close. We were close.
What's that technique?
He's only down the bottom of the road here, so that's no problem, really. Frank.
What's it called when you do things through holes in the wall? Glory holing, is it?
Oh, don't go there. Don't do
We don't
that.
do that anymore.
I think that's an arrestable offence, Carl.
No, I know, but it's not when you're
Isn't that what Michael did?
not when you're passing wine through the hole. Is the defence there? Okay.
Oh, is that what they call it now?
Yes, indeed. That's right. It's your
We're
honour.
on the same page, Penny, aren't we?
Okay. No, I mean Doug has an ascot and Frank has a hat. Just to clear that up. Love all the different takes on personal style. I was refereeing a boxing match before I came here. That's my excuse. And I guess I've got the job to do some curating the scores history. That the easy answer to that, Doc, is that everything's scored between 4 and 5, or 4 and 4.9, isn't it? No,
Some of them didn't.
3.5.
Some of them we didn't like.
But nothing has been below 3, is it?
There has been 1 or 2 that have been around 3 or below.
There were a couple, I think, we didn't like.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that the Magic Rosé?
No, there was a worse one than that. There was one that actually tastes like turbs.
This sparkling red.
Oh,
Yes, then Andy, you've got a bit of a job to do there. Sorry, mate. But it'd make a good video. I've got all the pictures, but I can't remember all the scores without watching the videos again. Honorary Secretary of the GMP Wine Club. Can I have a seconder for that, please?
Yes, please.
Motion.
Absolutely. Seconded.
In the language that the doc understands, motion carried conference. You have been appointed.
Have we decided on Doc's honorary uniform as well? Like, that's important, right? Like, is it going to be a secretarial kind of uniform, or is it going to be?
Have you seen the movie? Have you seen the movie, Frank? Secretary.
Oh, yes, I have.
Yes, so you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I know you're getting.
Especially with the broomstick.
I don't believe this, for God's sake.
A long wine bottle makes you pour more than a glass. Means it deserves to pour from the venue. We definitely got to get to Navendu on wine wisdom, wine expertise. Navendu, show yourself to us and come and join us one evening as our special.
Yes.
Perhaps a list of the bad ones. We're struggling. We're struggling to remember the bad ones, really. I mean, they've all been experiences. Even if they've been terrible, they've been experiences.
I remember 2.
I remember 1. I remember the one that Carl did.
I remember the sparkling red was not a big hit.
No, that was horrible.
Was that the Alianza fizz that we had?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that's what teenagers drank in Portugal. But to be fair, it was another experience, wasn't it? Fizzy red. Who'd had that before? This club.
I've never had a fizzy red.
Well, you haven't lived.
Okay, so you have to have a leitão abairrado in order to enjoy the fizzy red, apparently.
Okay. We should revisit it or go for a better one. The Bairrada red fizz. Yeah, I mean, okay, I take that on the chin. Leon said my uniform depends on her.
Oh,
so that's fair enough. But we still need pictures. Linda has delivered the empty bottle verdict. This is. That's what. Now, Villarreal are hoping for this. So next to the decanter sticker, next to the German Wine Expo sticker, it's like Linda's empty bottle prize is going to be seen in the middle very soon, I think. Mathias Rosé, no, we discovered Mathias Rosé is perfect in context. I learned something about that. And that is a man cave topic. What was that? The glory holing.
Glory holding,
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
or how we dressed up the doc for his new job.
That too.
Well,
I think that should be a topic for tomorrow, along with your glory holing.
Yeah, and absolute truth. So we've got 3 agenda items. We've got glory holing, how we dress the doc up, and is there such a thing as absolute truth? We cover everything at the man cave, don't we? Sorry for the loving call. Thanks to Joseph. Hey, look at this. We thanks to Joseph.
Oh yeah, nice one, Pete.
There we go. Another reason.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
When are we invited? The important thing is the invitation. Put it in the mail.
Yeah. So, definitely. And I think, have you got yourself a whale of a place in Orca? I'm wondering. Hey, here all week. Please don't go to the glory hole debate. That's a green light to us, isn't it? A red rag. Please don't do that. We'll definitely be talking about that tomorrow. It's 17 minutes past 10. Gary, another kind of compliment to your great work tonight.
Actually, Carl, right? Can I share a secret with you here? Right, when you disappeared off the screen, I thought, oh bugger.
Do you play more?
Okay. I was like, Garbo, you're on your own.
I thought, what can I do? How can I pad this out?
You did a fine job. Look at this, Johnny from Belgium. Peter, we'll be neighbours in the future. This is great, isn't it? We've got a network across the country here. We have a kind of retirement or pre-retirement life in Clover with all these wonderful friends we've got across Portugal. I'll be having an after-work beer since we are in different time zones and countries. Maybe one day I'll be in Portugal time. I sincerely hope so. Whoever you are there, spot on. It's a whale of a place. Cheers, guys. We'll be there next month. Peter Bleach joining us.
Oh.
Excellent.
Hey.
Gary, great job. We're gonna cut it there, and we'll see you next week. Rachel and Frank's suggestion.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
Ciao, ciao. See you in the morning. Oh yeah, we are healing the inner child in the morning. Jenny's on tomorrow morning.
Beware what you're doing and what you're saying. Okay.
Careful with the exercises.
I tell you what, it was a little mouth open and
No more of
that. I saw that snippet, and good on you, Carl. Thank you so much for putting that up. I will remind you of that for ages.
No inner child should have to see that. Facebook user is yes, Charles. He's going to be here soon as well. Let's keep our fingers crossed and see you tomorrow for the Man Cave. Facebook user Charles. Take care. Bye for now.